You know that feeling? The first really warm day of spring finally hits, you step out into your backyard and something just feels a little off. Winter's finally over, thank goodness, but it's left behind this trail of silent damage, especially on your decks and fences. So, let's talk about what that damage really is, why it's probably a lot more serious than you think, and, most importantly, how you can catch it before it turns into a huge headache.
And this right here is the absolute key. It is so easy to see a small issue, a little loose board, and think, I'll get to that later. But when we're talking about outdoor structures, that tiny little problem, it's often the first domino to fall, the first warning sign of a much bigger and honestly a potentially dangerous situation just waiting to happen.
So, let's picture the scene. It's been months of snow, of ice, biting wind, and you're finally out there taking a good look at your outdoor space. And you start noticing things. Things that definitely were not like that when you left them last fall.
And this is probably what you're going to see. A fence post that's leaning just a little bit. A deck board that has a little give when you step on it. The stain or paint is starting to peel away. And that railing you always lean on, suddenly it feels wobbly. These are the absolute classic telltale signs that winter has taken its toll.
Okay, but here's what's really fascinating and a little scary. The damage doesn't just stop when the snow melts. Nope, in fact, that's when it hits the accelerator. The arrival of spring actually creates what you could call a spring thaw trap, and it's all powered by a really simple but incredibly destructive natural process.
And that process is the freeze-thaw cycle. Just think of it like winter's secret weapon against your backyard. It's this relentless, quiet cycle where water gets into the wood, freezes, expands, just like an ice cube in a tray, and in doing so, it literally forces the wood fibers apart from the inside. So let's break down exactly how the sneaky enemy works. First, water from rain or melting snow soaks into the wood. Then, overnight, the temperature drops, it freezes solid and expands. That expansion creates tiny, microscopic cracks and even starts to push screws and nails out. Then, spring comes with all its rain, and guess what? Those new, wider cracks can now soak up even more water, starting the whole destructive cycle all over again, but bigger this time. And this happens dozens and dozens of times every single winter.
So, we've got some small cracks, a few loose boards. What's the big deal, right? Well, it matters because these tiny, seemingly minor issues, they are the open doors for major structural failure. This is the exact point where we go from a simple cosmetic problem to a genuine safety risk.
And this slide just perfectly illustrates the point. What you see on the surface, it's almost never the whole story. That small crack isn't just a crack. It's a super highway for water to travel deep into the core of the wood, causing rot from the inside out. And that wobbly post, it isn't just loose. Its entire foundation could be compromised, or the base could be completely rotted away right where it meets the ground.
And just look at how fast this can escalate. That wobbly railing you notice in March, that can easily become a failed railing right in the middle of a family barbecue in June. A cracked fence post in April might look okay for a while, right up until a big summer thunderstorm brings the whole thing down in July. Procrastination, without a doubt, is the #1 thing that accelerates this kind of damage.
All right, enough about the problem. Let's get into the solutions. How do you actually get ahead of this? Well, the good news is you can find these issues early with a simple, methodical inspection. So, here's your game plan. For your deck, I want you to start by walking the entire surface. Really feel for any loose or spongy boards under your feet. Then, go to every railing and every post and give it a firm shake. It should feel rock solid. Get down on your hands and knees and look for cracks, especially right where the screws and nails go in. And please, don't forget to look underneath. The health of those support beams is absolutely crucial.
Now for the fence, the process is pretty similar. I want you to go post by post and give each one a solid push. Is it stable or does it give way? Look right down at the base where it meets the ground. That's where rot absolutely loves to hide. Check the horizontal rails and the panels for any weak spots, and make sure all the hardware is still tight and doing its job. Now, if you're ever in doubt about something, just remember that a professional sees things a little differently. They immediately go for the hidden spots, the joist hangers that are actually holding your deck together, the very bottom of a fence post that's buried in the dirt. So the key takeaway here is that the real story of your structure's health is often hidden from plain sight. Okay, so finding the damage and fixing it, that's step 1. Step 2 is making sure you don't have to go through all this again next year. A little bit of annual maintenance can make a massive difference and dramatically extend the life of your deck and fence.
This is basically your recipe for long-term success. Every spring, clean off all the old leaves and debris that trap moisture against the wood. Go around and tighten any screws or bolts that have come loose. If you see a soft spot, deal with it immediately. Every couple of years, put on a new coat of sealant to give the wood a protective shield against water. These simple habits can make a huge difference.
So, as we wrap this up, I'm just going to leave you with this one question. After everything we've talked about, from that sneaky freeze-thaw cycle to those hidden weak spots, I want you to take another, harder look outside. Is your backyard truly ready for the season? Because a little bit of attention right now can absolutely ensure you have a safe and a really enjoyable summer ahead.